Welcome back. Thank you so much for that. And my apologies for the audio and if there was any other issues on our end. Maria, thank you so much. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Tovar. Hola, soy Maria Vilma Duran, and I am the founder of Central American Collective. I just want to give y'all like a really quick introduction before we continue on. But this initiative started, in order to build Central American cultural capital, empower our younger generations through historical knowledge, and spotlight social issues affecting our communities through the power of art, of culture, and also of our people. I really want to thank the Holocaust Museum Houston, and especially the Latino Initiatives Advisory Committee, led by Dr. Michelle Tovar, for all of the support over the years. We've been able to do a lot of great things through this partnership, not only showcasing, this beautiful film from Guatemala, but also previously one from El Salvador. And we've also been able to have scholars come in and talk about Central American migration as well. So I also want to acknowledge two other partners that have played a very important part in our events, and that's the Pan American Roundtable of Houston, who are amazing. It's an amazing local organization, as well as Agente Atlantida USA. But today I'm very honored to moderate this Q&A with our nuestra directora guatemalteca, Anais Taracena, and we're excited to talk to you about the film that we just watched, which is Los Médicos de la Montaña. Así que Anais, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you very much, Michelle, and thank you to the museum also, and also thank you to the Central American Collective. I'm very glad to be here with you.
Well, I know that we already have some questions in the chat, and please continue to add them in there. But I did want to start off our Q&A with actually with two things. I think the first is something that's very relevant and very important to speak about. And I'm sorry, Anais, I hadn't told you previously, but in this past week, Guatemala has suffered a lot, due to Hurricane Eta that hit the coast, and not only Guatemala, but also Honduras and Nicaragua. So I just wanted to just, please let us know, how are you doing? And also if, how can we help? Because I think that is something important. And maybe it's something that we can, send to people afterwards, but, just kind of give us a little bit of insight of how the country is dealing with that right now.
Oh, yes, it was, there are like very complicated days. I'm okay. I live in the city. We didn't have any problem in the city because it was raining, but the big raining and all the hurricane was in the most in the occidental and the north of the country. And a lot of communities, they have lost everything, their houses. And also there was a community that it was completely affected. I think that there are more than 1,000 deaths in the community in Alta Verapaz. Now there is a lot of collectives that are organizing collects of foods, of different things for the people. And also I think that some communities, they need money because they need to reconstruct everything. But I think also we have to say that the big problem is that the state didn't do anything. They knew about this hurricane. They knew it like from many days before, and they didn't do anything. They didn't make any alarm. They didn't say anything to the community. It was like, oh, and then there was the hurricane, and then there was all the disaster, and well, and all the money is stolen by the government. And I think that the people are very, very angry. But I think that once again, all these tragedies shows that only the people helps the people. And I think it's the same message also in the documentary, that we know that in this, where we filmed the documentary, there's like any help of the state. It's a region that it's a little forget from the state, like there are no hospital, there are not a lot of things. And it's always the people saving the people, and the people organizing themselves to to save their lives and to organize everything in the community. So I think, yes, I think, and now the big preoccupation is that we are in the middle of a pandemic situation. So what is going to happen now with the people that doesn't have anymore their house, and they have to live in another place, and they have to live with other people? And I think, yes, it's that's a problem. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that your film, that, you know, it really showcased that you know, there's still so many challenges happening right now with you know, with indigenous communities, or, you know, with communities that live in remote parts of the country. And, you know, it doesn't always, and it doesn't only happen in Guatemala, but I think, you know, all over the world. I think you touched on it a little bit, but, you know, what inspired you to create the film?
Yes, well, I'm going to tell some things. In 2016, I made another documentary that is called 20 Years Later, and it's a documentary where we filmed former guerrilla fighters 20 years after the peace agreement in Guatemala. We start with the question, what happened to the guerrilla fighters like 20 years after the peace agreement? And we filmed in the city, and we filmed in different communities, and we filmed like 7 persons. And one of the persons we filmed was Mateo Baltasar Mateo, that is also in the documentary. He is the one who is listening the audio tape, the old audio tape, and the one who has his son that has a problem with his leg. He has a osteomyelitis. I don't know how we say it in English, but an osteomyelitis. Mm-hmm. And he's a friend also. Right now, he's a friend of mine and all the family. And well, we went to this community with my colleague, Rafael Gonzalez. He already knew the community like very, very years ago. And well, I just fell in love. And then I came back to present this documentary. And then I came back with another project with other person that we were making workshops with young people. And I was like making a workshop, an audiovisual workshop, and other friends like a theater workshops. So I went there like 4 times or 5 times. And but the first time I went, it was, well, I just loved the community because they are just incredible. They are very well organized. It's a very beautiful community. Also, there is a big river, El Rio Chixoy is one of the most important river, also named Rio Negro, no, Rio Chixoy. And so I was like, no, that's so incredible. I want to come back. But in the community, when we were filming and everything, some people asked me, I just wanted to ask you, do you know Dr. Chano? Do you know Dr. Chano? We don't know if he's dead. He was our doctor during the resistance in the mountain, because this community, it's a community formed by different families who resist in the community during the war. Many of them were civilians, and then after the peace agreements, they decided like to create like this community, Comunidad Primavera del Ixcán. And they get a loan, and they could buy the land between different families. They get a loan with the Catholic Church and some NGOs. And the community has 24 years, like the community, like after the peace agreement. So they were asking me about this doctor, and I don't know who is, but that is the pseudonym of Carlos Rodas. And Carlos Rodas, I know him because he's a friend of my father. Because my father also was, he was a communist also. So we had like all this story, like the story in the family. And then when no, he's Carlos. No, he's not dead. He lives in near from the Antigua in a little village, and he's okay. Because no, basically we want to know him again because we haven't seen them for many years. And so then I make like this link because I knew like Carlos Rodas, and Carlos was writing his memories as a doctor, because he was a doctor during 30 years in the mountain, in the jungle, attending civilian peoples and also attending like former fighters. And the experience during these years were just stories, incredible stories that we can just imagine, because all the operation were like open air operation with very few things. Sometimes they make the transfusion of the blood during the operation, and a lot of stories like that. So I went back to Guatemala City. I called him and I said, you know, Carlos, a lot of people want to see you in this community. He haven't been there for 15 years, something like that. So I said, yes, you have to go back. You have to go back. And I was like always saying to him. And then I told him, you know, I want to make like, I want to film that. I want to film this meeting. Are you okay? At the beginning, he was like, I don't know. And he said, okay, yes, let's do it. But I didn't have any money. And then I could find like a little money to make like the travel, because it's a 30 the community is very far from the city and you need to enter with a big car. I don't have a car, so it was like a little complicated like to do it. And yes, but I also tried to search because I wanted to talk about memory, because I always talk about this issue like in my documentaries. And I was like very curious to talk also about health, and how health also its organization is not only health because it's health, because you need to be organized to have a good health in a community. And also I wanted to talk about how we can talk about memory from the present and from the past, and how, for example, we can remember the past from the body, like with the gestures and the expressions of the, and that's why I wanted to make like this little reconstruction in the jungle when they rebuilt like the little camp, and when they are simulating an operation. For me it was important like to make the remember it with the body, because I think it's much more stronger than only with the words. And I think it's one of the parts that I really like. And also I think it's during the filmation it was a very emotive part, because they were very happy to do it. And at the end we were all crying, but at the same time saying, and they were saying always, we are alive, we are alive. And that's the most important thing. And yes, that's why I wanted to. I don't know if I talk about other things.
No. I mean, I think you covered a lot of things. You know, for me, this film, when I watched it like I'm from El Salvador, from the city, right? So I wasn't really exposed as much to, you know, the jungle, you know, the countryside of El Salvador, the mountains. And so it was really interesting because just a year ago in my past trips, I was finally able to really go and like climb, you know, un cerro, and just really understand the distances. Because I think that that's something that we don't understand. And right now, when you mentioned, you know, like having to go in a big car, like a 4x4, and, you know, going into these remote areas, you know, I had to travel to go and visit somebody months ago. And so it was really interesting to just to have that experience, but then see it and just realize, oh my gosh, they are so far away from all of these different, you know, from a hospital, from, you know, just like first aid, right? And but it's so beautiful to see, like you said, how organized they are. I know that there was a question in the chat about, like, you know, who are the promotoras? ¿Quiénes son? Can you give us a little bit more, just a little bit more information about what does being a promotora mean and how are they integral in the community?
Yes, the promotores, they mean about the nurse and the healthy promotores. I think that means, yes, well, in the documentary, all the nurse and the promotores de salud, I don't know how to say it in English, they are, yes, they are from the community, all of them. Shulin, that is the one who works with medicine, natural medicine. He's incredible because he knows a lot of natural medicine. And also he works like some days in the week in the clinic of the community, that it's a clinic that is organized from the community. It's not a state clinic, it's from the community. And he's paid very, very few because it's also like the work he gives back to the community. Yes, and that's the one, Shulin. And Shulin, he was formed also during his experience in the mountain. He worked also with Chano and with other doctors, and he's like, all the experience, it's very empiric. And then with the peace agreement, he made a little like a formation, like an experience, a more professional experience to be a nurse. Yes. And also we have a Candelaria Pedro, that is the, I don't know how to say it in English, the partera. Comadrona.
Yes, she's the one, oh my goodness, I forgot right now too, but she's
the one who gets the babies. Yes.
The midwife, yes.
The midwife, exactly. Yes, the midwife. And yes, and well, she's also incredible. I already knew Shulin before making the documentary, but Candelaria, no. And I was just saying, I want to have a midwife in the documentary because I think it's very interesting. And the first time we went to the clinic to film Chano saying hello to everybody, there was the midwife with a little baby who was just born, and it is like the first, and it wasn't planned. And then we talked to her and we say, well, we're making this documentary, do you want to? So at the beginning it was, a camera, I don't know. And then he said, okay, no, it's okay. And she said, okay, we can go to see the one who has this little baby. And she also get all the information. She has all her experience in the mountain. She was very young, and now she's one of the first midwife. I think that there are 4 or 5 midwives in this community. And most of the births in this community are made with midwife. Only if they have a very complicated situation, they go to the hospital. There is a 2 hours hospital from the community, but this community is very well organized, and there is a pickup of the community, and they can transport the person if there is a big complication during the birth. But I think that 90% of the births are made with a midwife, because most of the women trust much more with the midwife than in the hospital, that the attention it's not a hot attention. I don't know how to say it. Is not, they don't want that. So yes, and the other one that is just like one, Magdalena, just one moment, she worked with Chano. She was very young, like she was 13 or 14 years old when Chano was a doctor making surgeries, and he formed her as an assistant during the surgeries. And then also she made a formation after the peace agreement, and now she is a nurse, and she works in another community. She lives sometimes like 1 or 2 days in her community, but she works in a little hospital or little clinic in another community 2 or 3 hours far from the Comunidad Primavera de Lixcan. Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the community is very organized. Do you see that they're continuing to like, make sure that the newer generations also learn all of this different techniques and all of the like ancestral medicine? Is that something that you saw there?
Yes, I saw more Shulin with his sons and grandsons um, talking a lot of plants. For example, because he has plant in his house, like he has a big garden, and he has plant. He also has plant in the clinic, and also he and the, yes, him. And I think also that in many families they use some plants. To eat, and they use like for example for the health, but also we can see that for the new generation and everything, there is like we need like more medicine from, I don't know how to say it, Western medicine. And sometimes is okay, but also there is like a lot of people who is not from this community, and some of them are from Mexico because it's very near from Mexico, very very near, and they came and they want to like to sell, for example, vitamins, and they all say yes, you have to buy it, and then everything, and it's very expensive. So now everybody, we went there and everybody like, yes, we need vitamins, and if but the vitamin, and Chano said the vitamins, you have it in the all the food, and all you have, you are full of vitamins. So yes, there is also like that, no, or for example sometimes people say no, you have to go to a private clinic and everything, because there is not a public clinic, and so it is like a little complicated for the new generation. They I think that yes, for example, they have a program of memory, they have like a library with a lot of books of memory. They're always telling to the new generation how they lived in the mountain, how they survived, how was, they have like some dates that are very important for the community. They have also a assembly in January at the beginning, and they always every year they change the authorities of the community authorities are changed every year. So I think that yes, of course, all the young generation are learning that, but also they want to be different from their parents. And also I think that there is a lack between generation. For example, sometimes they don't want to live in the community, they want to go in another place. Also sometimes, for example, there is a cooperative, a collective cooperative of rubber, and sometimes they don't want to work there, they want other things. So yes, it's a little complicated, but of course they have also all the experience of the fathers and the grandfathers. They have learned. Yes.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful to see that they're keeping their history. They're keeping their history going, because I think that that's one of the things too that sometimes we lack, especially I think in Central America, because we have suffered through a lot of different wars and just a lot of different trauma that we don't always continue to tell our stories. And that's also another reason why being able to capture it like you have is so important. And so one of the questions that I did want to ask you is, right now in Centro America, I feel like there's a renaissance in storytelling through filmmakers as well as musicians. What is your sense of it? Where do you see that is going?
All the storytelling and the filmmakers. Well, I think first of all it's very incredible because I think that we need as a countries to have stories told in the country, not told by other people, and I think that there are more and more young people who want to talk their own story, or to talk the story of their community, or to talk the story of their country. And I think there are a new generation, for example, in Guatemala. Before, you couldn't study film study because there was no film study or because it was very expensive. And now more and more there is a lot of workshops, or you can study in the university, or also you have grants from some people who are not in the city. So there are young people who are making incredible things, and they want to tell the story, different story from, of course, a story different from the television, of course, a different story from the NGOs, because sometimes it's not the same thing. And they want also to tell the story in a more poetic way, in an artistic way. I think that there is also a new generation of indigenous filmmaker that is coming, and it is just incredible. I think they are going to make a lot of beautiful things, and in the country. And I think also in Central America that there is like a boom of filmmakers, a boom of artists also. The problem is that there is no money, no money from the states, no grants, no nothing. But there are a lot of people who wants to do it, and we do it with with very few money. We can do it. I think it's also a way to talk and to visibilize more Central America, because I think it's a region that anybody knows nothing. Even in South America, they don't know nothing about Central America. In Mexico, they don't know nothing about Central America. I don't know if it in the United States is the same thing, but it's always like we are very little countries, and it's like, oh, it's the same thing. And I think that there is a diversity in Central America, incredible in all. You have a diversity of people, you have a diversity of landscapes, you have a diversity of nature, animals, everything. So I think it's very important also for that. I think for the geopolitical, thinking in a geopolitical way, I think also it's important. Yes.
It's true. We do have a question from Reverend David Chavez. What is the connection between the body, natural medicine, and local religious ideas or perspectives?
Okay, I need to read the question. I can watch it. Okay, the relation between body, medicine,
natural medicine, and local religious ideas or perspectives.
Yes, I think that in Guatemala in general, but also in this documentary, we can see it a little with the midwife. There is a cosmovision of the life, that everything is integrate. No, so there is like a communication and a relationship and a respect with the nature, and with the things we eat, and also with everything that is around the humans, that it's very important. So we can see it here in this documentary. We don't watch directly like the religion of the people, but I think also, for example, how works the midwife and how she connects with the body of the other people. And also Shuling, I think of course there is a relationship with their cosmovision and what they are what they believe, like in a spirit way and in a human way. But I think that in the documentary, I wanted to show it. I think I couldn't show it as I wanted, because I just could film like 4 or 5 days. We couldn't stay more time, and that's one of my regrets, because I wanted to stay. I wanted to come back, but I didn't have any money to come back because it's not only me, but 2 more people with me. So, and but I think it's all the respect of the land and the mountain. They are not only, of course, there is a respect in Guatemala, in many communities of the land and the mountain, but in this community, there is a big respect, because they say the mountain saved our lives. Mm-hmm. The mountain saved our lives, about the helicopters of the militaries that wanted to kill us. And also this mountain was a place for us to hide, was a place for us. The mountain give us water, the mountain give us food, and the mountain give us everything. So now we have to respect this mountain, and we have, and I think that Shulin has a lot this relationship with the mountain and with the nature, and I think that's why he's always also working with all the medicine plants and the ancestral plants, and yes, and when you go in other communities where they lived also the war, for example, there are other communities in Quiché, Nevaja, and everything. They also have, I think, they also have this respect of the mountain. And now that's also a lot of communities, they are defending their land from the hydroelectric projects, from the mines, and from because the big problem in Guatemala also is the land, because the land has been stolen always during all the centuries of colonies, to now with all the big projects of extractivism. So I think everything is completely, you know, I don't know, entrelazado.
Connected.
Yes, connected, yes.
Well, we're wrapping up, but I have one quick last question for you.
Yes.
Because I love the quote that he said was, "What we learned in the mountain is solidarity, organization, and respect." What did you learn when you were there?
Well, I think I've been there in this community like 5 times, and I think I go into this community. I always learn like solidarity and friendship, because I have friends there. I'm very, very friend with Baltasar Mateo and his family and his child, that we made like also after the documentary. We could collect money, and he could get operate in the city. During 1 year, they were going to the city like 10 times. It was very complicated for them, very expensive, but we could collect all this money. And now we have a good relationship. I also have a friend, Marta Chocalet, that she's communicator, and she also makes video, and she's incredible. And so I think I always learned all the generosity and the solidarity. I haven't lived the same experience that they have lived, of course, but for me, it's always I go there and say, yes, organization. That's very important for all the community. And also autonomy. I think that the problem in Guatemala, that there is not a right, a state, a welfare state. It's we only have a state when the military arrives, when there is a problem, but I think that that's a very good learning. People, the autonomy of the communities and the organization of the communities, that it's very important. Yes, and I think the only thing I want to say, that for me, it was important like to start a little the story with Chano, because Chano doesn't live in the community, and we are like, for me, it was important to link the story of Chano, that is non-indigenous, that is more from the city, and I am also from the city, and but they are like, all the story are connected, the solidarity stories, and for me, it is very important. But I think that it is important, very important, that new generation to tell their story. And I think that there are like young people and new generation in this community, that they are going to tell their own story. And I think that's the most important thing right now. Yes.
No, it is. Thank you, Anais, so much for being here. And, you know, and I just want to leave one last quote that I think kind of also wraps up what you just said. And it's, because a stick doesn't burn by itself, but a bunch of sticks do. You know, and he referred to Primavera, but I think that right now telling all of our stories lifts our communities. So
yes, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I also think it's, for me, this quote, it's very important. Yes.
Thank you. And thank you, Michelle, Dr. I'm so proud of you. You have no idea. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you again for this fantastic opportunity to allow us to screen your film, and for the dialogue. This was incredibly important. Again, we want to bring these narratives to light. And thank you for your work, Maria. Thank you for your work, Anais. And for our viewers for joining us this evening, our next event is November 17th, next Tuesday, and we're going to feature Indigenous artist and activist Greg Deal. For more info and to register to this free event, please go to hmh.org/events. Thank you again for tuning in, and have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.